in terms of database things. So I'm your faculty rep, Marcel Denny, and the Faculty Council of Science and Technology came together and put on this workshop as we saw the need for us to delve in or dive in more into how is it we can better understand the gathering and publishing of papers. We are moving to publish more papers this year, and we're trying to facilitate all levels to better understand the process and how we can move towards it in a more suitable manner. At this time, we're about to begin. We're waiting on Prof. Roy to enter to do our greetings. But I ask as you sign in, please to use your full name, first name, and last name, so we can identify who is speaking accurately. All right. So right now, while I'm showing you our agenda for today, we will have in our welcomes and greetings, and we'll have our greeting from Prof. Marcia Roy on behalf of the Dean. And then we'll have our introduction of our first speaker by Ms. Agneta Garden, graduate student and biochemistry representative on the Faculty Council. And we have our first speaker, Dr. Harris, giving a talk on library services and gathering resources via library databases, where we go into a question and answer session. And then we have an introduction of our second speaker, again by Ms. Aneta Gordon. And we have our second speaker, Dr. Peter Nelson, guideline for publication and publishing literature-based and database papers. And then we have our question and answer section and our vote of thanks by Nikolai Lucas, graduate student and biotechnology representative on the Faculty Council. So that's our lineup for today. So we hope that it'll be a very productive session and you will learn a lot from it. And we'll be giving a little Google form for you to fill out so we can get some feedback to how we can make this experience better moving forward. Okay, we are ready to begin. I would like to give the floor to Professor Marcia Roy, or Associate Dean and Graduate Study Representative in Faculty of Science and Technology. Take it away, Professor Roy.
Hi, good afternoon, Marcel. It looked like you were timing me. I just got in to hear my name being called. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Hello, Fredian. Oh my, this is wonderful. So this is excellent. I like sessions like these. Um, I'm just coming from faculty management where the dean is chairing. So the dean has asked me to bring greetings and to encourage this kind of event where we talk to our students about research. Um, so I am just hoping that it will be a good session and that you will get useful information that will help to propel our research forward. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that we are ranked #1 in the Caribbean. And the reason, #1 university in the Caribbean. And 50% of that ranking is because of the research that we produce and also our citation. So citation is when your research is used by other people. So research students are very important to the campus. And that is why the campus invests so much in scholarships, in R&P, and in departmental award, and try to support you the best they can, because they know that it is scientists who are listening to us now who are going to be using their knowledge that they gain here to solve tomorrow's problems. So I'm very happy for this kind of activity, and I hope that I will be able to attend other sessions, but I have to go back to my management meeting. Marcel, if you need me for anything, if anybody have questions or anything, then you can just give me a call and I will pop back in. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Roy, and we do appreciate you stopping by.
No, this is important. Thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
all right. At this point, I hand over to Miss Anita Gordon, where she will do her introduction of our first speaker. Anita, take it away.
Good afternoon. My name is Aneta Gordon, and I will be introducing the first speaker. She is currently employed to the University of the West Indies Mona campus as a senior librarian and is the head of the Science and Engineering Branch Library. She is an adjunct senior lecturer and provides research support to the Faculty of Science and Technology. She currently holds a doctorate in education from the University of Sheffield, United Kingdom. At the master level, she holds degrees in library and information studies and government public sector management from the University of the West Indies. She has also completed training in transformational leadership and management and a John Maxwell leadership course from the Mona School of Business and Management. She has the distinction of being a J. Jordan IFLA slash OCLC Early Career Development Fellow and was recently elected to serve as a delegate for the Americas Regional Council, ARC, on the Online Computer Learning Center Global Council. She's also the 2016 and 2017 recipient of the Library and Information Association of Jamaica Award for Research and Publication. She's also the 2016 UWI Mona Principal Award for Best Research Publication and the 2018 UWI Mona Principals Award for Best Research Publication and the 2018 UWI Mona Principal Award for Outstanding Researcher. Since 2007, Dr. Harris has served in various capacities within the Library and Information Association of Jamaica. Of note is her contribution as a chief editor for the two most recently published volumes of the LIAJA journal, and she remains the chief editor. She is also the founder of the University of the West Indies Library and Information Student Society. She has successfully supervised a number of theses at the postgraduate level within the departments of library and information studies. The UWI-Mona, she has also engaged in thesis consultation for the University of the West Indies Mona Library. She has 28 publications, of which 19 are scholarly publications. Her areas of research include trends and issues in Jamaica, academic and librarianship, as well as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics librarianship. She is a keen advocate for initiatives which seek to elevate, the status of academic librarianship at the local and international levels. Please help me to welcome Dr. Sasikia Harris.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
You're welcome. Good afternoon.
I thank you so much for making the decision to attend this workshop, because without you, we would definitely not be here. So thank you so much. All right, this afternoon, we are going to be looking at research in the sciences. This is me, your presenter, and with me is Shirley Smith from the Science and Engineering Branch Library. She will be sharing some links with you in the interest of time, because we have limited time. Miss Smith will be sharing links as we move from slide to slide, so that you may view some videos and view some documents in your own time. This afternoon, we will look at the UWI-Mona Library System, types of resources for research, how resources have been organized in the library, how to access resources, and if time permits, we will look at the 3 basics to referencing. And so, at the end of the presentation, you should be able to identify the 3 types of resources, state how resources are organized, use UWI-Link to access resources, and identify the 3 basic steps in the referencing process. Let's look at the UWI-Mona Library System. We are one UWI spread across Caribbean countries, and consistent with being one UWI, we are one Mona Library spread across 5 locations. And the name of each library is an indication of the focus of each library. Prior to COVID, we opened almost 24 hours each weekday. Since COVID, our opening times are fluid. For now, we're physically open up to 4:30 p.m. We're also open online. Visit us using our social links. You may access ebooks, e-journals, and databases 24 hours online using UWI-Link. These are added contact options, and as I mentioned before, we're one Mona Library. Please note the Mona Library's email address and WhatsApp number. If it is that you like to contact the Science and Engineering Branch Library directly, this is our email address and our telephone number. Not to say this would not get you to us as well. All right, so let us look at types of resources for research in the sciences. There are 3 types of resources, and I have 2 videos that I would like for you to watch in your spare time, which will highlight the differences amongst the 3 types of resources. The resources provide data and information. And a good starting place for your research is tertiary resources, which provide concise data or information about primary and secondary resources. So let us look at tertiary resources, and remember to take a look at these very short videos in your spare time. Now, tertiary resources are reference resources, and they provide concise, quick, fact-based, background textual or statistical information on a topic and may direct you to secondary and primary resources. And this latter part is the key thing to note about reference resources. They may direct you to secondary and primary resources of information. Reference resources can be general or subject specific. And here are some examples. But let us look at the last four. An index will lead you to primary and secondary sources of information, particularly periodicals. A periodical is a publication issued in successive parts, which is intended to be continued indefinitely. For example, journals, magazines, newspapers, and we will look at an example of a journal in the slides to come. But before science publications became more readily available online, researchers would normally locate journal articles through a printed index. A printed index within a library setting is a list of published journal articles within a discipline or topic. The list normally provides bibliographic information such as author, title, name of the journal, volume, issue, page numbers, and sometimes abstracts of the articles. This information would help a researcher locate an article and decide if it is relevant to his or her topic. But the print index itself does not provide the full content, commonly known as the full text of articles. Indexes were traditionally available in print formats, but thanks to advances in technology, they are now mainly available online. They also began providing access to the full articles. So not only are you now getting the bibliographic information such as the author, the title, as well as the abstract, but thanks to technology, you now get access to the full articles. And so these became widely known as databases and are used to find primary and secondary sources. So a library database is a searchable online collection of data or information. And databases can be created in-house by a library or paid for. At Mona, we have created a database of digitized resources and other resources. We also pay for several databases. Now, databases that are paid for are called subscription databases, as the library pays a subscription fee for access to copyrighted content within these licensed databases. A small number may be freely available to access. So libraries may have in-house databases and subscription databases, which are more reliable and authoritative than internet resources. A database may be dedicated to a single subject or it may cover several subjects. So, for example, Science Direct covers the sciences. EBSCO, which is another popular database, is a multidisciplinary database which covers several subject areas. Also, a database may contain abstracts, indexes, and other tertiary resources. Full text articles from e-journals and full e-books are also available through databases, and databases can be searched by keyword, title, author, and more. The library has several databases accessible through its website. You may go to each database and search each one at a time, or to save time, you may use UILink, which is the name we have given to our online catalog, to search all the databases simultaneously. And we will look at these two options momentarily. So one option, you can go to each database and search each, or you can use UILink, which will search most of the databases. UWeLink does not search SciFinder, which is a chemistry specific database. It doesn't search the Gleaner, which we also offer, and it doesn't search some legal databases. We will look at SciFinder later on. So UWeLink provides access to most of the library's databases from a single interface, and we will discuss UWeLink further in the slides to come. Now, Credo Reference is a reference database that we pay for, which is a great source for reliable background information on your topic. Credo Reference offers three options for researching your topic: basic search, advanced search, and concept mapping search. The concept mapping search option is a unique feature of Credo, which allows one to brainstorm about a particular topic and find resources. Credo is an example of a library subscription database, which you may access through our website. So we're going to go to the library's website to look at this database and other databases. And then we are going to look at some primary and secondary resources and how to find these in UWeLink. So just before we go to the library's database, just to give you an overview of what we're going to do, this is the link to the library's website, which Ms. Smith will share with you. Now, we are going to go to the library's page. We're going to look for resources. Then we're going to select electronic databases. When we do that, another box will appear, and this is where you can type the particular database you're searching for, or you can go to the bottom of the screen and use the numbers to move to the next set of alphabetical listing of databases. Now, I have two quick videos here. We're not going to watch them, but again, we will share the link so that you can take a look at these videos, what concept mapping searching is like and what basic searching is like in Credo. But let's go to Credo quickly so you can have a sense of what it is like. All right, so to get to the library's website, you can use the URL shared with you, or you can follow me. We're going to bring up Google Chrome, and we are going to enter in the search box. We're going to enter in the search box UWeMona Library. All right, so everybody seeing my Google screen? Yes. And by the way, feel free to stop me if you need me to go back a little or repeat something. All right, so I'm going to
we're seeing your Google screen. We're seeing it.
Thank you so much. So I'm just going to enter UWeMona Library in the search box. And I'm going to select Mona Library here. In the red area, you will see resources. Just move your cursor over resources. A drop-down menu will appear. You will select electronic databases. It will take you to this page. And just before we look for Credo, I just want to share with you some of the databases that are available to all UWE students and staff. There is ProQuest Central, and this is a multidisciplinary database. There is ABI, right? And this is for business. There's Academic Search Complete by EBSCO, that is multidisciplinary. We also have the Gleaner. We have Access Pharmacy for those students in that era. There is Agora, which is very useful for agriculture, related biological, environmental, and social sciences. And here are the numbers I referred to earlier. You can click on 2 to scroll through to view all the databases available. We have ACS, which is a popular one for chemistry. We have ACM, which is popular for computing and some aspects of engineering. There is Biomed. There is Cabell's journal blacklist, and you would have heard about predatory journals, and I call them scamming journals. Journals that will take your money sometimes, or they may not ask for any money, and they publish your paper very quickly. And normally it doesn't go through a peer review process. I'm going to talk about peer review process later. But we have this database, Cabell's Journals Blacklist. If you're not sure about a database, sorry, about a journal, you can look for that journal here. If it appears in the blacklist, it is one that you should stay away from. All right, I'm not going to go through all. I will leave you to go through all, but I just want for you to note these databases that we have. Here is Chicago Manual of Style for those persons who are to use Chicago Manual of Style. And this is where you come to find Credo as well. Here is Credo. EBSCO is another popular multidisciplinary database. Right? Hinari, you can take a look at that. IEEE. Now, IEEE is a very popular database for all aspects of engineering, whether it's civil engineering, computer engineering, whatever aspect of engineering, IEEE is the go-to database. All right, MathSciNet for persons in math. Or for environmental science research, Project Muse, ProQuest, those are multidisciplinary. Royal Society is another good one. We have the popular Science Direct, which we no longer subscribe to Science Direct, but the years that we would have paid for subscription, we still have access to those articles. This is where you find SciFinder Scholar. But before you can use SciFinder Scholar, you must register separately. And SciFinder Scholar and the legal databases and Hinari are the only databases that require you to do something prior to coming here and accessing it. I have a slide on SciFinder, and a training session is coming up in November. I'll give you information on that. All right, so in that training session, you'll note the difference between SciFinder N and SciFinder Scholar. SciFinder N is just the newer version, and it uses AI, artificial intelligence. There is Teal for agriculture, and there is a popular Web of Science. Web of Science is very useful for journal citation report. So if you're interested in citation reports and metrics, if you want to see the impact factor for a journal, that sort of thing, Web of Science is quite useful for that. All right, so you can check out the other databases. So I'm just going to put in Credo quickly. And you select Credo. It will prompt you to log in. You will see a little UILink box pop up where you'll be required to enter your ID number and your password. the same credentials you would use to go onto the ORVLE platform. All right, so this is Credo, and there are lots of videos you can watch. Note these very useful videos: how to select a topic, how to avoid bias in your searches, synthesizing research. So take a look. I wish we had more time to go through. Look at the distinctions between quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Now here at the bottom of the screen, let me move these out of the way so I can see. You can select about Credo reference. And then you come to the top center of the page, support and training. And then Credo Toolbox. You select Credo Toolbox. You can select online reference service, or you can select Credo content. It will take you to videos that you can watch. You can also select Credo source overview. Right, and come to the bottom. You can watch a video on how to do a basic search, how to use the mind map. Right, and let me just use the search box and do a search on biology. Let me just go back to the very beginning, to the home page, because I want to show you whoops, I closed out. Let's go back in quickly. Uemona Library. So for those who missed it, take opportunity, look at what I'm doing: resources, electronic databases, Credo. I'm typing in Credo so I can get there quickly. All right, select Credo. And here, I just want to show you what happens from this search option. I'm typing in biology, and note all the related terms, all the facets, all the extensions. Note I did a biology search. I'm getting, remember I said that this is an example of a reference database. So we looked at the definition of what a reference database would contain: dictionaries, encyclopedia, right? So note I get information from reference resources. Note as well the mind map, which is very good. You can select any one and it will take you to more articles, right? If we had time, we would do a full mind mapping search so you can see how that feature works. Notwithstanding, you can take a look at the videos. All right, so let's go back to the PowerPoint presentation. All right. So that's a little on the databases. All right, so I mentioned tertiary resources, and I said examples are reference resources such as indexes, dictionaries, catalogs, and so on. And I shared with you a reference database where you can find all of those tertiary resources. And now I want to share with you a little on reference service. The library offers a reference service, and the term reference service is defined simply as personal assistance provided to library users seeking information. Normally, individuals who hold a master's degree in the field of library and information studies typically provide this service. So I know there is the view held by many that everybody who works in a library is a librarian. That is not so. In order to be a librarian in a university, you must hold a master's degree. And so when you speak to a librarian at the reference desk or via the virtual referencing platform, you're speaking to a qualified person who will assist you with finding information. So as I said before, the term reference service is simply personal assistance provided to you by a librarian. And a librarian in a university library normally holds a master's degree. Libraries normally have a section called reference desk where this assistance is provided. So if you go into a library and you see a desk called reference desk, that is what is normally provided there. With the advances in technology, most university libraries offer a virtual reference service. You may access our virtual reference service through our website. Once on our website, look for the Ask a Librarian icon or the online chat icon. And this service is available weekdays up to 7 p.m. Let us look at some primary and secondary resources. Books are by far the most popular. However, this afternoon, I would like to introduce you to some other resources which you should consider at this level. For example, conference proceedings, technical reports, research data sets, and periodicals. Research data sets are a collection of raw statistics and information generated by a research study to produce and validate original research results. So research data sets are really raw statistics generated through research, and this is produced and stored and oftentimes accessible these days and provide a useful place to start. These are becoming quite popular. We do not encourage web resources at this level, but they have permeated search activities. So should you need to use web resources, ensure you visit the links here and select based on the criteria given. For example, .gov and .edu domains should be selected over .com and .org. So please review these in your spare time. Let us look at periodicals, specifically journals, which we encourage you to use at this stage. Now, a journal is a scholarly publication issued in successive parts, which is intended to be continued indefinitely. It contains research articles written by researchers and other experts within a specific discipline or field of study. A journal article usually has an abstract, introduction, background, lit review, research methodology, research findings, and so on. Now, there are two types of journals, and we encourage you to use scholarly journals in your research. A scholarly journal is a periodical that contains articles written by experts in a particular field of study. The articles are intended to be read by other experts or students of the field and are usually much more sophisticated and advanced than the articles found in popular magazines. Scholarly journals are oftentimes peer-reviewed journals or refereed journals, meaning the journal articles would have gone through a process where the journal asked other scholars in the author's field or discipline to critically assess the article. They would then give the author detailed and constructive feedback, as well as make a recommendation for acceptance or rejection of the article by the journal. And this review is normally called a blind review because the reviewer is not known to the author and the author is not known to the reviewer. And when you submit that article, you normally remove any identifying details. Now, at this level, you are expected to use scholarly journals. So we don't really want you to be using books and web resources. We want for you to be using technical reports, conference proceedings, scholarly journal articles, because they would have gone through a robust process of review and they often contain research findings. Please use the link that Ms. Smith will share with you, this link here, to further explore key differences between scholarly and non-scholarly resources and how to identify each. Let us look at how the resources of the Mona Library system are organized. Libraries have assigned letters and numbers known as the call number to each resource in the library to enable ease of discovery on the physical shelves. And this shows an example of a call number. Please note, call numbers are not randomly assigned. They are based on international classification systems such as Library of Congress system, which most university libraries use. The call number is normally displayed on the spine, as you can see on this slide. Note the call number begins with the letter Q. So this book would be found in the Science and Engineering Branch Library, which we call SEBL. And given that you're in the Faculty of Science and Technology, this is a library that you may most likely come to. However, as a student, all the libraries are accessible to you, including the one at the Western Jamaica campus in Montego Bay. The Science and Engineering Branch Library will have resources with call numbers G, Q, S, and T. The Law Branch Library will have only K, Medical will have only R, and Main Library will have all the other letters. Let us explore how we may use UWeLink to discover and access the library's print and online resources. Recall I said you may go to the library's website, select resources, electronic databases, which will take you to the listing of databases the library subscribe to, and that you can search each database one at a time. I also said that to save time, you may access and search most of these databases simultaneously through UWeLink, and I said that there are just a few exceptions. For example, SciFinder. UWeLink provides access to the library's databases from a single interface, and so you may access abstracts as well as full text resources through UWeLink. UWeLink also serves as an index. It gives a listing of print and online resources, and you may access the full text of most online resources listed. It lists all types of resources which you can access anywhere, anytime, once you have internet access. And UWeLink will show all the resources of the University of the West Indies, including Caville, St. Augustine, Mona, Five Island, Open Campus, and this is because we offer interlibrary loan. And if there is a chapter, for example, that you may need from an item that is at, let's say, St. Augustine or so, we can arrange to have that digitized and sent to you. Now, before we go into UWeLink, let me share some useful tips with you. The first thing you must do when you go to UWeLink is to sign in. You must sign in to enable you to access all the resources. When you have a topic, try to pull out the keywords and enter those in the search box. Look for synonyms so you can vary your search terms by those. And remember, you're FST students, so a scientific term could be a synonym that you could use. Make use of quotation marks. Quotation marks will make your search results more specific, and we will look at that. You can use what we call Boolean operators. Boolean operators are and or and not to join your keywords. So let's say you wanted to look at the impact of pollution on, let's say, the harbor. You could enter in the search box pollution and harbor. So, and there is a Boolean operator joining two words. You can also use or. So let's say there is a synonym for harbor. You could put impact and harbor or, and you place that synonym there. You can also use not. So let's say you wanted to look at the impact of pollution on the on Jamaica, for argument's sake, but you didn't want to include Kingston. You could enter in the search box impact and pollution and Jamaica, not Kingston. So by putting not, you would exclude particular results from your search regarding Kingston. There are a number of search options, but today we're going to look at two. We're going to look at search all and we're going to look at find eJournals. As the name suggests, you can use search all for anything. If you have the author, the title, the keyword, the subject, whatever it is that you have, you can use search all. You use find eJournals to look for electronic journals only. You can find electronic journals in search all. In fact, search all will give you e-journals, e-books, print journals, print books, conference papers, technical reports, theses, past papers. It gives you everything. It's just that, let's say we do a search and we put in the search box inorganic chemistry. You will see that UWeLink will bring up all types of resources. And imagine if you were looking for just electronic journals, you would have to go through that thick list to get to the eJournal. So if you want eJournals only, you use the option find eJournals. We're going to look at all of that shortly. When you're on the results page, you need to explore view versions and the filters on the left-hand side, and we are going to come to see why momentarily. So now please ensure you look out for this. If this comes up, select advance. Another option will come up which says proceed to login. Select that, and sometimes you may need to repeat up to 3 times. It's a little issue with the security certificate that the university is trying to work out. All right, so we're going to come to this page shortly. In fact, we're going to go there right now. So I want for you to do the activities with me. That's the best way of learning. We're going to go to UWeLink now. So I'm just going to bring up a all right, let's pause share and I'm going to bring up a search box. All right, everybody seeing my Google search box?
Yes, we're seeing it, Dr. Harris.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to put in the search box UWeMona Library. And to get to UWeMona Library, you could also go to the university's website, look in the red area for libraries, and you select libraries there, and it will take you to the Mona library as well. Now, this is what you will see. This is the first page you'll see. Remember, we were here, we clicked on resources. Now, as a postgraduate, I encourage you to click on information for postgraduates and view the resources that are there. Now, here is UWI-Link, and if you scroll to not too far down, here is the virtual chat service. Now, this is the UWI-Link quick search box, but I want for us to actually click on UWI-Link. So click on UWI-Link. And what is the first thing you should do when you go onto the UWI-Link page? First thing to do? Anybody? First thing? Said it earlier.
Sign in.
Excellent. Thank you. Excellent. Now, because I had signed in when we were doing the Credo search, the system still has me as signed in. But to sign in, come to the top right-hand corner of the screen and you will see the words sign in. Now you're going to click on that and you'll be prompted to enter your UWI credentials, your ID number and your password. Now, quickly, just to point out some features. Normally UWI-Link is set to the default search all. So search all is always the default option. So we're going to look at search all, and here is the find eJournals option. Top right side of the screen, find eJournals option, right? And to clear the screen, you can select new search. Now go to the very right of the screen, my account. If you click on my account, you can see all your loans, but you will perhaps come here to click on list of historic loans. So just in case you borrowed something from the library, let's say last week, and you need to get the bibliographic details, list of historic loans will show you everything that you've borrowed, returned, not returned, and you can click on it and get further you can get the bibliographic details. Now, let me just click on new search to clear that. You use UWI-Link to search for anything. If you want past papers, thesis, as I said before, print resources, e-resources. So let's say, for example, we wanted a past paper. You enter the course code and select enter on your keyboard, or you could select search here, this orange area, search. Now, it appears as though it is a journal, not in the sense of the definition of journal that I gave you earlier, but in the sense that past papers are intended to be continued indefinitely. To view, you click on view online. You select the year that you're interested in, and the past paper will come up. Go into the gray area, top right-hand corner of the screen, drop down arrow. You can download it to your device or you can print. All right, so that's looking for past papers. Let us just clear screen and let us do a search. Let's say we are writing a paper on inorganic chemistry for argument's sake, and we want to see all the resources that are available on inorganic chemistry. So we don't want to go to each database and do a search. We are just starting out and we want to get a sense of everything that is available, right? Because perhaps you may not be too sure which database to go to. Although you could browse the database listing to look for the chemistry specific journals, for example, ACS, chemistry specific databases, sorry, for example, ACS, SciFinder, and so on. So we can do our search in organic chemistry. Note, for almost 500,000 resources are available on inorganic chemistry. Note, we have a journal. Note, we have articles, and if you scroll down and go to the right of the your screen, you'll see numbers which will take you to the other pages. Note as well, you can filter by campus. So if you are only interested in what is at Mona, you can click on Mona, and this would bring the results to just 324. Let's do the search again so we can go back to our 400 and odd. Now, if you are interested in just articles, you would select articles. That would reduce it to just about 200,000. Conference proceedings, the same. You can narrow by date as well. So just in case you were interested in including in your paper only the last 10 years, you can type that in here. Now, remember I said to you earlier that you should make use of quotation marks. I'm going to put quotation marks now around inorganic chemistry, and I do this to make my search more specific. Now, when you have just inorganic chemistry in the search box, the system will look for resources with just the word inorganic, resources with just the word chemistry, resources with the words inorganic chemistry, and will bring them up. But when you put it in quotation marks, it will search for that exact phrase. And I'm just going to press enter on the keyboard. And note, I no longer have 400 and odd thousand resources. I have a little over 100,000. Note, I have a journal. Note, UWE shows me journal, book, all types of resources available on inorganic chemistry. So to view this journal, once it says view online, and this is the information here, it is an indication it's an online resource. So you select view online, another window will pop up. What this means is that this journal is available in this database and in that database, but from 1996 in this first one, and from 1962 in that one. So be guided accordingly. Now you can select any one because we're just browsing. So let's select the first one. So you see how UWE takes you to the databases. Recall I said this may come up. Click on advance, proceed. And here we are. We are in Inorganic Chemistry Journal. Now, in terms of the arrangement, this may differ by database. Note that for this database, it's by decades. So if you are interested in 2018, you'd have to select 2010s here, right? Select 2018. So you get to see all the issues in that 2018. Let's say we wanted to look at volume 57, issue 23. You can just select it and it will take you directly into that volume. So here it gives you a nice listing. So here it is operating like an index, but in addition to the bibliographic details provided and the abstract, you get full text option. Now, if you see PDF, click on it because especially at this level, you need to reference your work. And so PDF will show you where one page begins and where another page ends. Whereas if you select HTML, for example, HTML will allow everything to appear in one. Now, here is a journal article. You can put your cursor in the gray area, click on the download arrow to download, or click on the print arrow to print. Let us go back to our UWE search results. So we just looked at a journal that was available. You can click on the X here, go to the right, click on X to close that out. Let us explore a book. So here a book is available. Note, it's a 2007 copy. It says available in the Science Library and other locations. Always look to see if view versions appear to the right. Here, view versions appear. It says view 4 versions. Select view 4 versions. Note, we're now seeing that a 2018 copy is available, a 2012 copy is available, a 2005 copy. Note it says it's in the RBC collection. We have two major collections. We have other collections, but two main ones, RBC and OpenShelf. For the RBC collection, you would have to complete a request form and hand it to the person at the circulation desk and they fetch it for you. RBC normally has books that are heavily used. If you see open shelf, it means that you can just go to the open shelf and fetch the item yourself, but you would have to be able to read the call number. So for example, a call number like this, QD151.3.868, the last 4 digits normally indicate the year. This means that you would have to come to the science library, you would have to pass Q, QA, QB, QC, go to QD. When you go to QD, you move on the shelf, you move from QD 1, 2, 3 up to QD 151. When you get to QD 151, you may see point 1, point 2. You continue until you get to point 3. After point 3, you may see point A, B, C. You continue until you get to H. And when you get to H, you continue numerically until you get to 68. But we want to check to ensure that this book is actually in the library. So you click on locations. I see it's now 4 o'clock. You click on locations. And this is saying that the item is in, it says available. Note for St. Augustine, it says out of the library. You want to check to see if multiple copies are available. You select the plus sign. And this would tell you, because it appears twice, this is an indication that 2 copies are available. Let's just close out of that. And let's go back to our inorganic chemistry search with the quotation marks. We're back to the 150 something thousand. Note, there are other resources. Let's go to page 2, the bottom of the screen, bottom right-hand corner. Page 2, note there is a reference entry as well. So you can click view online. This is telling us that, you see, this dictionary is available in Credo. Remember, Credo is a reference database. You click on go. So you see how ULink searches all the databases for you. And here you have your definition of inorganic chemistry. Now, note as well, we have journal articles coming up. So let's say we were interested in this one, combining inorganic chemistry. You click on view online. View online. And this is saying that this article is available in this database called Wiley. So you click on go. This comes up again, advance, proceed. All right, so I have to click on it again. All right, and here is my article. You see it appears in HTML, so I cannot tell where one page ends and where one page begins. Now you can click, it says a PDF option is available. You can click on that. All right, let us look at Find eJournal option quickly. So here is Find eJournals. You click on Find eJournals and you can browse by subject area. You can browse by subject area. Let's say you want to see all the engineering journals available. You click on, you enter engineering in the search box, let it stay at contains. Click on go. And this says we have almost 2,000 e-journals. Almost 2,000 e-journals on engineering. Now, again, this is saying that this journal is available in this database. This journal is available in this database, right? So note the databases and you can just click on the databases and select go and you'll be directed into the database. Now, if you had a specific journal article you wanted to find. For example, let's say we wanted to find this journal article and you're using Find eJournal. You must begin with the name of the journal. You must begin with the name of the journal. Let us look at this last one. Advances in Molecular Biology would be the name of the journal. The title of the article would be Human Growth Hormone. For search all, you could enter the author, the title of the article, or the title of the journal. You could enter any part in search all. But for Find eJournal, you must begin with the title of the article, the journal name. So we're going to put Advances in Molecular Biology, note 2009, note the authors, note the title of the article. All right. So we're going to put in the Find eJournal option here, Advances in Molecular Biology. Click on Go. And here it is, Advances in Molecular Biology. It says it's available in EBSCO from 2007. Our article that we're looking for was published in 2009. So this means this is a go. We will find our article here because it's available from 2007 and the article we're looking for was published in 2009. So this comes up, click on Go. And here we are, and we are looking for 2009. So you come over here, notice this doesn't appear in decades. You actually get each year. We want volume 3, issue 1, you click on it. And we are looking for human growth. So this is the article. To access the article, click on PDF full text. And here is the article. Now again, you can download or print. EBSCO has a unique feature. If you come to the right-hand corner of the screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th icon. If you click on the 5th icon, it will cite the article for you automatically. So, and it appears in the top area. And you can just put your cursor over whatever, highlight, right-click, and paste it in your document. All right, so I'm not going to do any more examples because I am now out of time. I am just going to come back to my presentation to tie up. All right, so just quickly for you to note, referencing is the acknowledgement of authors and or editors whose works you've incorporated into the body of your paper. And typically this is done through paraphrasing, quoting, summary, images, tables. Now, you must reference because academic writing requires it. Recall I said referencing is the acknowledgement of authors and or editors whose works you've incorporated into the body of your paper, typically through paraphrasing, quoting, summarizing, and so on. Now that acknowledgement must be done using a referencing style, or some people may refer to it as a referencing style guide or a citation manual. So you must use that citation manual to acknowledge in text and at the end of your paper. So in terms of referencing must be done in text and at the end of your paper. And you must do that using a referencing style guide. Now, in text, you incorporate the works of others through paraphrasing, quoting, summarizing, images, or tables. And you will proceed or follow that with abbreviated bibliographic details, which is typically the author's surname and date. But the referenced style guide will determine this. Now, what's the difference with the reference list? In terms of acknowledging the authors or editors whose works you've used, in terms of the reference list, you would provide full bibliographic details at the end of your paper and on a new page. All right, so the takeaway quickly, and that's all I'll say about referencing. Referencing is giving acknowledgement to the persons whose work you've used, and you give that acknowledgement using a style guide. You do it in text. In text, you provide brief bibliographic details, sorry. And at the end of your paper, you provide full bibliographic details. Now, in terms of how you do it in text, let's say you read this passage from this particular source, you can then incorporate this in your paper through quotation, and that would be an example, or through summary, and that would be an example of how you could summarize this, or through paraphrasing, and this would be an example of how you paraphrase. I can make the slides available so you can view in detail. And at the end of your paper, this is what you would have. You would have a reference at the top because it's just one reference you have. And note how it is set out. You must follow the style guide. The style guide will tell you whether you can write out the name or whether you must have initial, whether the title must be italicized or underlined, where the date must come, if it must come here or there or so on. All right. And Miss Smith will share these links with you to some popular style guides. And I'm just gonna skip over that. And finally, please note, we're going to be having our SciFinder virtual training session on Thursday, November 26th, and that is going to be done by Deborah Pelisa from SciFinder. Again, Ms. Smith will share the meeting details with you, and she will also share this link with you in respect of how to register. And these are just some of the services and products that we offer. If you're in need of a device, the library offers tablets, laptops, Chromebooks for loan. You can get journal, book, thesis, everything to borrow. There is no cost. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm sorry I cannot recap as I am now past my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Harris, for a very detailed presentation. I must admit I wasn't aware of some of the things you presented, but we're going right now into the question and answer section. Are there any questions you guys have? Just please raise your hand so I can acknowledge you, so you can ask Dr. Harris your question. Okay, so we see that there are no questions. And if you want to reach out to Dr. Harris, you can also do so by email. She responds to email. Oh, we have a question. Okay, Khalees, I acknowledge you. You can go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so just a quick question. I was doing the run through with you, so I tried with a different example and using the UWE-Link system and the search all feature. So when I did that, I got a reference entry, and when I click view online, it's asking me for the resource is Britannica Academic, and it's asking me now for the academic access ID and academic passcode. So when that comes up, what how do we get that information? Do I need to reach out to a librarian to get that information? Or
All right.
what?
Firstly, did you sign in when you open up UWE-Link?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes,
All right.
I'm signed in.
Is it that it was asking you for your UWE credentials?
No, it asks me for something because I tried my UWE credentials and it didn't go through. So it's asking me for an academic access ID and academic passcode, and it's saying that it's provided by my institution. So this is Britannica Academic.
All right. It should not be asking you for that, but if you can take a picture of it and send it to me by email, then I can answer you better. I should point out though that some resources are accessible to only Mona because of publisher restrictions. Some resources are accessible to only Kville, only St. Augustine, and so on. But because we're one UE, we will make a request to get access through the other libraries if that is the situation. Sometimes a simple signing out and signing back in can also give you access. Additionally, sometimes if you open the resource in a new window, that may take care of the problem as well. So it could be any one of those.
Okay, sure, no problem.
But
So
feel
I,
free to send me a screenshot and I can give you a specific answer, as it's usually better when I am able to see. But the answer I will give you will fall into one of those three options.
all right, no problem. Thank you. And quick, where do I find your email contact? Real
All
quick.
right, Miss Smith, could you please share those details in the chat? And I can just bring it up again so that if you want to use your phone and take a
Yeah,
picture of it,
that would be good. Thank you.
there it goes.
All right, got it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Are there any burning questions? Any other questions there? Okay, no burning questions. All right, so again, for those who are just joining us, I would like to welcome you to our Scientific Research Virtual Workshop. I'm your host, Marcel Denny, Faculty Representative for Graduate Students, and this initiative was put on by the Faculty Council in order to help assist persons at the various levels to do research and publishing of papers. Right now, we're into our next section of our program where we have Anita Garden introducing our second speaker, Dr. Peter Nelson, who will be talking about publishing and publishing guidelines. Anita, please take it away. Anita, sorry.
I'm sorry about that. Good afternoon again. I will be introducing the second speaker. He is from the rural community of Hampton Court in the parish of St. Thomas. He was a student at the Morant Bay Primary School and St. Thomas Technical High School. Prior to attending the University of the West Indies, he attended the College of Agriculture Science and Education, CASE, where he successfully completed an Associate of Science degree in Natural Science with a major in Chemistry and Biology, and this was in the year of 2005 to 2007. While at the University of the West Indies, he completed a Bachelor's of Science degree in Chemistry in the year from the year 2007 to 2009. He then went on to the MPhil PhD program where he was mentored by Professor Henry Ellis. His research was on the study of liquid crystals, and from his PhD thesis, he was able to publish 11 articles in international peer-reviewed journals along with 2 books. He was able to complete his PhD in under 4 years and graduated November 2013 at the age of 25. This made him the youngest PhD graduate from the University of the West Indies, and as a result, he was featured in the Jamaica Observer. Upon completion of his PhD, he was granted a postdoctoral fellowship at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel, where he spent 2 years working with many eminent scientists and learning new techniques. While working in Israel, he recognized the level of dedication that the Israelis had towards Israel, and so he decided to return home to work at the University of the West Indies instead of taking up a job position that was offered to him by a university in Virginia, USA. He would have received a better pay, but he would have been denied the opportunity to contribute towards the development of local research. He is currently a lecturer in the Department of Chemistry, where he is mentoring 2 PhD students who are studying stimuli responsive liquid crystals for use as a drug delivery vehicle and the development of ion selective membrane. Please help me to welcome Dr. Peter Nelson.
Okay, good evening, everyone. All right. Thank you for such a fantastic introduction. Of course, there are a few modifications, but more than good enough. Okay, so is everyone hearing me, by the way?
Yes, Dr. Nelson, we're hearing you.
Okay, great. All right, Marcel, also thank you for the invite to have a quick discussion on a topic that I'm very much interested in. Let's see. Let me see if I can share my screen. And don't worry, people, it will be very brief. All right, so you can see my screen as well, right? Yes?
Yes, Dr. Nelson, we're seeing your screen.
Good, great. Don't worry, just a few slides. What, about 4? So I will not be long. Anyway, publishing as a graduate student, right? And this presentation, this PowerPoint is hot off the press, meaning that I was working on it just a while ago. Right, many things on the plate. Publishing as a graduate student is very, very important for a number of reasons. A matter of fact, it's a part of the whole idea of graduate school. Now, publishing as a graduate student or at the graduate level basically it will fuel future opportunities. For example, if you want to get a postdoctoral fellowship or you want to get into a job. So I guess the question is, where do you want to go? Now, postdoc, for those who are interested in getting further training or experience in the field of study, generally go on to do a postdoctoral fellowship. Generally, in our region of the world, postdoctoral fellowships are not so easy to obtain as it is in places like Europe. All right, that's what I have found. It's not so easy in our region. Not impossible, because many of our graduate students have gotten very good postdoctoral fellowships. So yeah, so we also have to spread our wings to other regions. So a postdoctoral fellowship, basically, it's like an internship where you get to basically get some get additional experience by working with more experienced researchers in your area, or even to start a new area, start to learn something new. And that was the case for me as when I left graduate school, I went on to learn something that I knew nothing about. And that was very, very interesting, very enlightening. Generally, to get a postdoc, I've been doing some research, in preparing this presentation. I found that most principal investigators are those that I have, I've done research on their stuff, are saying that, you should have about 4 publications thereabout. And remember, this is just generally, because I've seen cases where persons have gotten postdocs without publications. That is not easy, though. That is not so easy. That is quite difficult. Maybe if you have some connections or something like that, or if the publications have been submitted or they are in the press and you can verify this, or the principal investigator of a research group might take you on as a postdoc. But like I said, what I have found is that you need about 4. Good quality. And the word quality is an interesting word. It is an interesting word where publications are concerned, because the measuring tool is what makes it interesting. Why is it that you generally need publications to obtain a postdoc? Well, principal investigators of research groups generally have to find funding to fund a postdoctoral fellow. In other words, to fund your stipend, okay? And this funding comes from the research. So when a principal investigator is going to take on a postdoc, this principal investigator needs to be sure that this candidate can do work of a certain quality, of a certain level that will guarantee, you know, a high level of productivity in their lab or labs, and therefore lead to good quality publications or patents that will then now encourage donors to give the research group more funds. So and the principal investigator normally makes use of your number of publications or quality of publications, all right, to decide on whether or not to take you on. Generally, people who are interested in going to academia need a postdoc, all right? Yeah, generally you need a postdoc. Well, I've been told by older lecturers that and professors that back in their time, they did not need a postdoc. I guess things were not so competitive in terms of getting an academic position, all right? And they said, look, we didn't really need a postdoc. A matter of fact, some of them even told me that they were able to even get their get an academic position without even having publications. Well, in this day and age, it's different. You need some sort of publication, and you need postdoc. A matter of fact, some institution won't even look at you if you don't have a few publications. Some are even saying that, look, you must have demonstrated the ability to attract grants and stuff like that. Okay. Now, if your idea is to get into just, you know, leave from graduate school and to get a job, all right, for academic positions, like I said, you need postdoc, you need a few publications, or at least you need to be able to demonstrate that, look, I can do research at a certain level independently to produce publications and good quality publications, and also I can attract grants. What about industrial? If you intend to go into the industry, generally, and I say generally because generally industry doesn't require you to have publications, but nowadays, all right, employers in the industry are asking for at least 1 or 2 publications, and I have had the experience with 2 of my friends who got through with a job in the industry, and they asked me to be like a reference for them. And when I guess the supervisor called, and they started to ask me some things about the person. They asked me to just be as straightforward as possible, and of course I did that. And then at the end of the questioning, at the end of the discussion, in both instances, the supervisors asked me, then if this person is so good, how is it that they have no publications? And I had to explain, all right, and this is when I was at Weizmann. I had to explain that, look, the head of our group does things a little bit different. His philosophy is a little bit different on publications. Okay, he's not going to put a publication in a paper, in a journal with an impact factor less than 10 or so. He's not going to do it. He would rather, he would option to wait to get more data and to check everything. Very thorough guy. And so you find that a lot of the postdocs would leave without publications, or the research students, masters and PhD students, would leave without publications. Of course, they would get publications later on, but not when, so I'm just saying all of that to say that, look, even the industry nowadays is saying, look, we need something, we need some sort of proof that you're able to do research at a certain level. All right, so that's where it's at, where that is concerned, and that basically tells us clearly that publications are very, very important for graduate students. And it would be good if when you're graduating, you have a few publications to your name. All right. So like I said, the average is about 4. Now, where to publish is also another issue, because and this comes down to this at this stage we start to get a little bit philosophical. All right, high impact versus low impact. Okay, and we have to understand where the impact factor comes from. It's basically the average of the average citation of journal articles in a particular journal. All right, and I have today I read about 3-4 letters to the editor talking about the whole idea of impact factor, and most of the letters were basically cursing, going against the idea of impact factor, because they're saying, and most of the scientists that wrote these letters were saying that, look, this does not measure the quality of the individual scientist like what H-index can do. It does not measure anything. And then also, one guy made an interesting comment. He made a comment about the organization that the journal is affiliated with. For example, ACS Nano, which is a relatively new journal, has an impact factor of about 14, right? 14.5 thereabout. Whereas you have other journals which have been around for much longer, not having that impact factor. And he was saying that, look, it's because ACS is attached to it and stuff like that. So it's a debate that is raging. Okay. Now, high impact factor, the advantage of publishing in high impact factor journals is that it looks good on your CV. Firstly, it looks good on your CV. Somebody look at a high impact factor journal article in your CV, and they say, oh, this is very good. This guy is doing, this person is doing really high level work. All right. We have to be a little bit careful of that. All right. The high impact publishing in high impact journals, high impact factor journals, will also, cause some employers to look at you favorably. They look at it and they say, oh, this person can do this level of work, and they look at you favorably. Principal investigator for a group might also become more interested in you now. Say, oh, this guy has mainly papers in JACS or ACS Nano or any one of the big biology journals or so on. Say, look, this person is really, or any one of the big physics journals. Say, look, this person is really good. Okay. Like one of the writers of the letters that I read today said, it does not speak to the individual scientist. That is one problem too. So you could pick somebody, select somebody for your research group, saying that, let's say you're a principal investigator and you're looking for a postdoc, and let's say you select somebody and say, oh, this person is very good. This person has 10 papers, and all of these papers are in journals with impact factors 15, 16 thereabout. This person is the best. You select the person, and then the person cannot function because this person was functioning mainly as a team, small part of a large team. And so these great papers came up, but by themselves, that person or those persons cannot work. So it can be a little bit tricky. Of course, we are not knocking it. In terms of low impact factor journals now, some scientists might question the quality of the work. So you see that, look, this guy has papers which are mainly in journals of impact factor 2, impact factor 1, and they start to question and say, boy, I wonder if this person even knows anything. I wonder about the quality of the work. Some scientists might do that. Employers might also do it. Some institutions might also question the quality of the work. But one has to be careful with that, because impact factor does not mean quality. It does not speak to the quality of the peer reviewing process. So you have to be careful of that. Okay. For example, look at a journal like ACS Nano, 14.59 I checked today, versus a journal of theoretical chemistry or so. All right, and I keep talking about chemistry because I'm a chemist. Right. getting into ACS Nano versus getting a paper into the Journal of Theoretical Chemistry. As a person who was published in ACS Nano, I'm telling you, it would be way more difficult to get into the Journal of Theoretical Chemistry than in the ACS Nano. It will take a lot more brain power and a lot more work to get into the Journal of Theoretical Chemistry than into sorry about that, than into ACS Nano. The peer reviewing process for Journal of Theoretical Chemistry is way more rigorous, and they require way more in terms of the breakthroughs that you need than in an ACS Nano. But ACS Nano has a way bigger impact factor. And so maybe if you look at, if I have 10 papers in ACS Nano versus another person who has maybe 10 papers in Journal of Theoretical Chemistry, you'll probably look and say, oh, this guy's CV is better. This guy is doing way better than this one who is in Journal of Theoretical Chemistry. He just has papers that are 1.4. As I said earlier, it does not speak to the quality of the individual, the impact factor. It doesn't necessarily speak to that. Okay, so we have to be very careful with that, where to publish. However, like I said, this comes down to this gets very philosophical, because some principal investigators will not publish in certain impact factor journals. Right? They will not do it. They would rather to wait and to gather the data from many students and get into a bigger journal. All right, and I'm not knocking that that philosophy at all. It's just a different philosophy. Whereas some other principal investigators would rather to say, okay, let's put this in an impact factor 2 or impact factor 3 and keep it moving. Whenever a bigger paper comes, whenever we are able to get into a bigger impact journal, we will do it. But for now, let's put this thing out. Okay. The latter philosophy, which is getting the work out, is interesting because students need papers, all right, to get a postdoc. Yeah, so you don't want your students leaving without papers. At the same time, the students have to ensure that they do the level of work that will allow papers. Okay. Another thing I must point out is the idea of journal heritage versus impact factor. That is a very interesting one because, all right, for example, I was having a discussion with one professor from overseas, who is one of those guys who believe that only big impact journals, his papers must be published in. And like I said, I have no problem with that philosophy at all. That's his philosophy. That's worked for him over many years. And however, he doesn't mind publishing in Dalton Transactions or Longmuir. But the impact factors of these journals is not very big. Impact factor is not very big. I think for Longmuir is probably about 5 to 6 thereabout now, and Dalton Transactions probably be at about 4.2 thereabout. But he would publish in these. But the other journals, which are 6 and 7, he would not. He said the impact is too low and he would not do that. Why is that? It's because of the heritage of the journals. And so he doesn't mind publishing in Dalton Transactions because of the age and the whole heritage, the history of the journal. So that's also another thing. Okay. In terms of what I would advise a student to look out for, you want some good quality papers. All right. It would, like I said, it's nice to have some big impact factor papers on your CV. Okay. But what the bottom line is, you need to have some papers. You need to have some papers. And so you should push for that. Okay. And the way to push for that is to really produce some data, some good quality data, such that you can influence your supervisor to move forward where the publications are concerned. So that is important. You need papers and you have to push for them. You have to push the supervisor for them. You have to push yourselves for these publications, such that when you leave, you have about 4. You don't have to have 11 like I had when I graduated. You don't have to have 11. And what's interesting about those 11 papers is that the postdoc that I got, only one of the papers the PI read and gave me the postdoc. Only one. So it's not that I'm cursing the other 10, but I'm saying only one of them gave me the postdoc. So that is interesting to note. Okay, organizing yourself for publication. Actually, this starts out from the selection process of the supervisor. All right. Who are you planning to work with, or who are you working with? So it actually starts from the day of selecting the person, checking out the person's work, having a discussion with the person, and also letting the person know, what you're interested in terms of research, and even after leaving the research group. All right. Now, I believe that even if this person is not a person who's going to, publish 2, 3, 4 papers a year, you as a student can go there and put in that level of work that you could basically help to influence this person to put these papers out. Now, the second thing in organizing yourself is that you need to read, and read the literature more. You need to have the knowledge. You need to know what is going on in your area. You have to have the knowledge. And not only that, what I have found is that reading also teaches you to write. So when your supervisor asks you to draft a paper or to write a report, because you have been doing so much reading, you would have discovered various terms, various writing styles. All right. So you can put that together easily and give the supervisor less work to do in correcting. So that is a part of organizing yourself. You have to organize your head first. Now, in collecting your data, you want to collect the best quality data whilst in the field. All right, the field, well, for me, the field would be the lab. You have to try to collect the best quality data. Okay? And of course, in order to do that, organization is required and time management. All right, it requires a lot of organization, it requires time management, and also constantly meditating on the work and how to improve it. Because you have to always try to think of, look, how can I improve this? All right? And to mention something else, your constant reading of the literature gives you ideas. Not just for writing and writing style and stuff like that. It gives you ideas in terms of what you can do with your data, how you can organize your data, how you can even discuss your data. Right? So it gives you ideas. Constantly meditating on the work also helps you to put what you read in the literature into perspective and to see how you can move your work forward. Okay? Of course, in doing stuff with your project, you have to discuss with the principal investigator, which is your research supervisor. All right, because you're working under the supervision of this person, working together. Now, work up your data. You have to always be working up your data. And when we talk about working up your data, we're saying check on the data, put the data in a form where it's almost like information. So you do some data processing, all right, to see if the data is good, to see if the work is trending in the right direction or the direction that you are expecting. If not, then you have to ask yourself, why? What is going on here? I mean, we can't make the results what we want, but we need to ask why. Why is it going like this? What does this mean? All right. Think about the data and use what is already collected to direct additional work. And that is very important. Working up the data and also thinking about the data and using what you thought of to direct future work is important, because you don't want to be working for 5, 6, 7 months. And then one day you say, okay, let me work up this data now and see what's going on. You work up the data, you realize that what you collected 2 months ago, all right, which you made use of to do some work 3 weeks ago, it was not good data. Something was missing. All right, maybe you try to make compound C and you use compound C to produce compound G, but compound C was not the correct compound. So therefore compound G was not the correct either. You would have found that out if you had worked up the data for compound C, if you had, thought about it and checked on it, you would not be in this position. So though you have to go back 6 months wasted, you have to go back. All right, I don't want to really use the word wasted, but we have been going in the direction that we don't want, right, for 6 months. So these things are important. Now, first thing in organizing yourself to publish. So after doing all of that, collecting the highest quality data, being aware of the literature. All right, as graduate students, you must know the literature more than your supervisor. You should, or you at least try. Yeah, at least try. Wait, so when you go to your supervisor, you're telling this supervisor what is going on in the literature, what you have seen. All right, and you usually, like I said, use the literature to direct or to help you. Okay, after doing all of that, collecting the best quality data. All right, working up your data and using what you get to direct the work. Then of course, remember, you cannot publish the data without the consent of your supervisor. So you have to have some sort of discussion with this research supervisor, okay, to decide on whether or not the data which has been collected and worked up is it ready for publication? What do you think? Can we publish this? Do I need to add a few things more to the data? Right? Because you as a student, you have to always be seeking publications. You should be. Yes, more than the supervisor. Because guess what? You are the one who is going to go to look for a job or a, postdoc or whatever. So you need these, right? So you should always be pushing the idea of publishing. Of course, not just publish anything. You have to see that it is clear that you have a solid story here, right? Which is large enough to warrant some sort of publication in the type of journal that the supervisor would be interested in. If you know that you have a supervisor that likes a lot of data in the document and who aims for the bigger impact journals, then it just means that you have to do more work. You have to put in more work, such that when you go to the supervisor to say, look, this is what I have. It is saying this and it is saying that and it's saying that. And guess what? Nobody else out there, did this, I've done this type of thing, or even close. Let us see, can we write something up? Can I draft something and pass it to you? So you constantly push the idea, all right? And that's basically how you organize yourself. You're trying to get a story. And also, another thing that I did not put here, you have to always be looking for loopholes in your story. You're always questioning the story. Is this accurate? What I did and these pronouncements that I am making based on this data, are these pronouncements accurate? Am I making sense here? You have to always be self-critical, basically. Because remember, you are publishing in peer-reviewed journals, right? In peer-reviewed journals, and the peer review process is where, of course, other scientists in the area will look at your work and see if this body of work which you have presented to them is worthy of publication. Is it does it represent a contribution to the literature, the body of knowledge in the area that is already out there? All right. Does it reflect enough novelty, so much so that they can put it out there? Is the quality enough, so much so that it can be presented to the scientific community? So you have to always be checking yourself. okay, to ensure that your stuff is up there. Now, after doing all of that, of course, and these are decisions that you make with your research supervisor, with your principal investigator. As a grad student, you alone can't just take up the work and go and publish it. You alone can't just decide to expose the work to another scientist or go and present the work to another scientist or seek out collaborations with another scientist without first discussing with the principal investigator of your group. All right? Because remember, the work would have been the ideas developed by that principal investigator and probably yourself too, but you're working together, so you can't just go and do what you want with the work. You have to get some sort of consent. All right? That is important. And so, of course, at the end of the day, there are a number of strategies. And of course, what we find is that most of the times, the principal investigator decides on the strategy of publishing. You as a student can also suggest, right? Can also say, hey, why can't we do this or do that? All right? Can also suggest, and you and the principal investigator can have a discussion around the whole thing. I have one friend who, in publishing, what he does is to publish a communication first before he publishes, before publishing a big paper, a full paper rather. All right? They generally put out a simple communication, which is just basically the same thing as a letter or letters. Okay, which is just a short it's just a summary of the work, basically. Some authors use communications or letters to preview the work, to give the scientific community a preview of the work. Some authors even use this to stamp their claim, to say, look, I have this, I'm onto this. So once they put the communication out, that is, they publish the communication, which is like a short summary of the most significant findings of in the work. Then the full paper is coming, which is the extended, the more extensive version of the whole thing. Communications are short, generally 2,000 words thereabout. Some journals have templates. They say, look, you have to fit your stuff into this template, and it should not be more than 4 pages, and you should not have more than this amount of figures or tables. You should not have, more than this amount of words. For the full paper, some journals have the same thing. They have a template, and they say, look, not more than 7,000 words. Or they say not more than 15 pages and 8 figures. So that also helps you to decide on, look, I have this amount of work, all right? How can I fit it? Because sometimes we tend to go overboard in preparing the papers. We are writing the paper and we'll reach something like 20 pages, and we're still trying to put another 10 on it. Then when you submit it to the journal says that, the editor says that, look, this paper is too big, you need to slim this paper down. Take some of the information and put it in the supporting information, or what they call the supplementary information. It's too big. All right. So that's important. And of course, before you, when in preparing your stuff, generally some authors would like tend to check out a particular journal, check out the requirements. All right. What number of words, what number of pages they need. Some journals specify even the number of dots per square inch in terms of the figure quality. So you have to check that out. How many tables are allowed? So some journals specify all of that. But sometimes, like I said, we go overboard. Paper is too big. And the editor ends up sending it back to you and say, look, the work is good, but this you have to rearrange this. Okay? And so that's also a good consideration that students have to put in. And of course, all of this has to be guided by the research supervisor. All right? Because you are working together, so you can't just go ahead with it. Now, in terms of review articles, writing review articles, Are they relevant? Or is it just a waste of time? Or is it that we're just using review articles as some sort of padding for our CV? All right, because some persons see it as that, that, you know, you're writing too many review articles, you're just padding up CV and stuff like that. Review articles are important. Review articles are important. And they are important for not just for newbies in an area, all right, not just for the newbies of an area, but also for senior researchers in an area. So, because what the review is a summary, is a collective of the work which has been done or reported in an area. And so a senior author could take up a review and say, let me see what's going on with this, you know, what has been going on. And also the review, critical reviews tend to point out loopholes or voids in the literature, saying that, look, nothing, nobody has done this, or there's no work, or we have not found any work on this and on that. Okay, so you can discover some loopholes and say, oh, I can, you know, I can touch this area, right? Like I said, newbies are new authors in an area, new researchers in an area can also make use of a good review or a few good reviews in directing, right, the structuring of a project. So review articles are also important. If you have a review article in a very good area, it also tends to get a lot of citation. All right, it also tends to get a lot of citation. If it's in a very topical area and it's a well-written review, it tends to get a lot of citation. So that could bring up your citation, and citations is very important. Citations is very important. And I will say one more thing about the whole citation, low impact versus high impact. Okay, like I said earlier, I have one paper in ACS Nano, which was from my postdoc, right? I did that with the guys in Weizmann. So it's not just my ideas that, you know, the paper does not consist of just my ideas. It's a collective of ideas. The guys there plus my ideas and stuff, and also their work too. That paper, I think it has about 7 citations, right? Journal is big impact, a good size, 14 point something. But also, I have an article in a lower impact factor journal. The impact factor, I think this was Dalton Transaction. And I also have another article in a lower impact factor. Impact factor is about 2. The article in the lower impact factor journal has citation of about 70 or 60 something, versus the paper in ACS Nano. The ACS Nano paper is about 2 years old now, and it only has 7 citations, whereas the one in the lower impact factor journal has about 60 odd. No, I'm not saying 60 odd is a whole lot, but look at the difference between the two. Okay, I also have review articles, and these review articles are doing really good in terms of citation. So your review articles can really help you in terms of your citation, visibility of you as an author. Okay, can you write a review article without being an expert in an area? Now, some persons would say that, look, you should at least be a person who is publishing in an area before trying to write a review in that area. And that is, I don't think that is unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to think like that. But the fact is, you don't have to be an expert in the area. All right? You don't have to be. I guess maybe it would seem a little bit more favorable to be an expert writing a review in an area versus a newbie in the area writing a review article. So I guess that's why some persons say that, look, it's better if you're an expert, but you actually don't have to be an expert in the area to write a review article in the area. Okay, I'm not saying to fill up your CV with reviews, but it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea to do that. Okay, I know of one author who is using the strategy of having his students, each of them, write 1 review article and using that review article to help a number of things, help them to learn to write, help them to learn the literature, and also give them some knowledge for preparing the introduction to their thesis, and also giving them their first publication. So that's about 4 or 5 birds with one stone. So that's another philosophy. That's another philosophy. Okay? But the long and short of the entire discussion is that grad students need to publish. You should publish. You should be seeking the publications, right? Make use of your supervisor who is a senior researcher and knows how to publish and how to get things done. Use them. Use your supervisor or supervisors as a guide to getting your papers out, such that when you're finished with graduate school, you can pick up a postdoc easily, or academic position or industrial position easily. So bottom line is you need to publish. In order to publish, you need good quality data, high quality data, the highest possible quality that you can get. Okay? And you need to organize yourself such that when you're ready to prepare a thesis, you're not saying, oh, but this data is missing. Oh, that data is missing. Or, oh, this data is not good. Oh, that data is not good. When you're ready to prepare a thesis or you're ready to prepare a paper. For me personally, I think students should publish papers before writing a thesis, because what I have found is that in preparing a paper, because you're trying so hard to please the reviewers, and reviewers can be really tough, scientific reviewers can be really tough, right? Simple stuff they can reject the paper for, simple stuff. Don't even try to annoy them with bad grammar, because if you do that, they just reject flat out, right? And say, look, this thing is not written properly, you need to take this back, and that's it, and just reject flat out. So don't even go there with bad grammar. Make sure that the grammar is good. Quality of your figures. You will ensure that the grammar is good in your writing. You will also ensure that the quality of your figures, the quality is good for the figures, all right? You will also ensure that the figures are consistent in how they look and all of that. And so you would have learned a lot in preparing a paper, such that when it comes to preparing your thesis, certain mistakes you will not make. Referencing of your paper with the figures and your tables and your citations and stuff for your articles, you would have made sure and you would have learned during the preparation process of your paper all of these things. So when it comes to your thesis, you can really, you would have learned so much that putting the thesis together, you would start to follow these principles. Not only that, the reviewers for your paper or papers would have criticized the work somewhat, right? And this would have given you now some information, right? Somebody might say, boy, this figure, this data is too scattered. Or how is it that you didn't do that? How is it that you did not do this over here? Are you sure that this is saying so and so? And now you start to ask yourselves these questions, and you go on and fix them, so that when you are preparing the thesis now, right, you would have answered those questions, and I believe it would make the thesis, getting the thesis through easier, right? Because you would have been through a much more rigorous process. Thesis would have been examined already by 2 or 3 international authors in the area, 2 or 3 international experts in the area. Okay. Of course, you're going to say to me that, well, but you can't be sure of the quality of the peer review process. That is true, but at least it would have been tested already. It would have been baptized by fire. So when it comes now to your defense, you would be more rigorous in your thinking and be ready for certain questions. You would have fixed certain problems. All right. So yeah, bear these things in mind. Questions? I think that is that. I think I said too much.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson, for an excellent presentation. We spoke around all the points. I'm now opening the floor to any questions. Anybody with any questions you'd like to ask Dr. Nelson, you can go ahead, raise your hand. Okay, Rose and Smith, you can go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Dr. Nelson. And I'm not sure if Dr. Harris is on also, because this can go either way. I'm really happy for the presentation. And what I like the many recommendations, and one of the things that you pointed out is encouraging posters to publish prior to even completing their PhD. And I think that is something that is very weak across several departments. And what I would like to know, which is something that came out in previous years, because I myself is a lecturer, is how do young graduates avoid what we call self-plagiarism when they are able to, when they publish prior? So for Dr. Nelson, it will be, how are you able to avoid self-plagiarism? And also Dr. Harris, if you can chime in there to say, how can you avoid self-plagiarism? Because sometimes they tell you, get the paper and start rewriting. But if you write a lovely 3-4 paragraphs that you really want to include in your thesis, how do you deal with that?
Okay. All right, that's a very interesting question. It's a fantastic question, first of all. Self-plagiarism. And it's a good thing you brought up that question, because I remember when I was doing my defense or my thesis, I had about 11 papers at the time, and I made reference to some of those papers. All right, I had to do that because there's one formula that we invented, and it's in one of the papers, and I wanted to use it in the thesis. One of my external examiners commented that I should not make reference to my own papers, right? I should not cite my own papers, basically, make reference to them, right? That was kind of tough to me, because these papers are a part of the literature. But I kind of understand what he was saying, because he's saying that it's almost like I'm saying that I wrote in the thesis that, oh, the sky is black. And if somebody should ask who said that, I would say, I said that. You understand? So I kind of understood where he was coming from, but the papers are a part of the literature. What can I do? Can I avoid them, not put them?
And that is why I asked Dr. Harris to chime in here, because it's a struggle. It's a struggle. Sometimes you might write papers that are unrelated to your thesis, but there are times when you decide that this is a chapter that, in your thesis that you're going to just throw there and see if you get, the same constructive criticism that you speak about. And after you write that, if to ask a grad student to rewrite complete it's a challenge, and not to, and you might be finding yourself citing yourself after every line, and it depends again from where you're coming from, because you're chemistry, I am geography. Okay. So our writing is different. It's more than different, a formula. Yes. I really want to hear a bit for the benefit of myself and the grad students that I have in here. I see several grad students from our department here, and I'm quite certain they will want an answer to that.
Can I put one more thing before Dr. Harris chimes in? Wow, because I even asked the reviewer for my thesis. So I posed the question to him. So what should I do? Because if I publish the thing, I'm the first guy to put this thing out there, this formula, right? If I don't cite it, then you're going to see it in the literature and say, oh, but it's already out there. How come it's in your thesis and no citation? And he suggested to me that maybe what I should have done was to put a copy of the paper in the back of the thesis. And the point that you made about taking some paragraphs of writing from the papers, right, and putting them in your thesis, That was also a problem for me. And I personally think that if somebody publish a paper and they want to use piece of the writing verbatim from the journal article, I don't see the issue with that. Or even in a report, I don't see the issue with that. However, seeing that I am bringing the problem, I'll try to bring the solution. I think maybe we should put the paper, a copy of the paper, the published paper, in the back of the thesis, in the appendix, to say that, look, this is my paper, all right? And here it is. I use some stuff from it, but here it is at the back of the thesis. It's my paper. So don't give me any red flags with Turnitin and say that I stole, because I technically can't steal from myself.
Well, that's why I want to hear Dr. Harris' point on it, because
I also want to hear.
We can debate that all morning, all evening, and it has been debated already with librarians, and I never get enough response to that. So
I also want to hear this.
I really want to hear.
All right. I often say this when I do the training sessions on plagiarism and referencing. I often talk about cosmetic plagiarism, and everybody gets that. Unattributed borrowing, everybody gets that. But whenever I mention self-plagiarism, I get a loud roar. Yes, you can self-plagiarize. And the only way, as Dr. Nelson has correctly said it, the only way to avoid plagiarism is to cite yourself, and it is perfectly fine. So even if you need to cite yourself several times in the paper, that's the only way to avoid plagiarism. Some journals will say to you that, hey, if you want to use this paper elsewhere, let's say you want to publish this paper in another journal, you need to make X percentage of changes to it. So the fact that you're going to make X percentage of change to it, that is acceptable. However, for certain key statements or any statements at all that you're going to re-include, you must cite yourself. You must cite yourself. The way to avoiding plagiarism is to reference, and we reference in text and at the end of the paper. So to avoid self-plagiarism, you must reference yourself. And I am a little taken aback by Dr. Nelson's comment that he was advised by the supervisor that he should have referenced himself. That's not the correct approach. You must reference yourself to avoid plagiarism. I hope that answers for you.
Thank you so much. It's not only for me, but I'm hoping that all the other persons, grad students here, it helped them out. I'm happy that you said it doesn't matter how frequent you reference yourself. You should practice that, because I know that it's a challenge all over.
Yes.
So yeah.
And you run into that trouble, especially when you have to split your papers. I am known, so when I heard Dr. Nelson talking, I chuckled to myself because I am known for writing long papers. My papers go over 30 pages, and sometimes my colleagues will say to me, oh, you can get 3 papers out of that. You can get 4 papers out of that. And I'm like, I just don't know how to do it. But I did a COVID paper just the other day, and I had to do it. I mean, I used a justification to the journal. I said, well, you guys have always published my very long papers. So what's the difference? Why are you now insisting that I need to take back the paper and chop it in 2 for you to even consider it? Well, I want my publication, so I took it back and I did the very difficult thing of cutting the paper in 2, because you have to be very careful you don't get into the trouble of plagiarism. You have to be very careful. So I ended up doing part of the literature review differently, but where I needed to pull something from the other paper, which it's not published, but I still reference myself. That to indicate that I'm taking this particular section from that. So that's the way to go. You just have to reference.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harris. I also have another comment, but I'll give somebody else a chance before I make it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns for Dr. Nelson or Dr. Harris? They're both still here. No questions, no comments. Okay. I have a quick question, Dr. Nelson. As a graduate student, right, within the same department of chemistry, moving forward, if we're looking for a postdoc and you have a body of work, you haven't published anything as yet. Okay, well, I'll come to you right after Troy, Franklin. You haven't published anything as yet, and you have the decision to make between a high impact versus a low impact journal, and you're looking for a postdoc. What would you recommend for a graduate student to do, Dr. Nelson? Because if you want to get a postdoc, as you said before, they will look on the publications. Would you think it'd be better to go into 2 high impact journals or 4 small impact journals? What would you recommend for a graduate student in that predicament?
All right. Okay. Thank you for that question. It's not a very easy question. I must say that. All right. Because this is the thing. Like I said, some principal investigators will look at the impact. Okay. Whereas some are more meticulous in analyzing what you have. In that, they will look at the number of authors. Some of them will also look at the institution that you are coming from. Meaning that if you're coming from a big institution, a big name institution, then they will not allow you to slip by with a low impact factor journal like a 2 or a 3, because they're saying, no man, you're coming from this Columbia University, it's a big university, and 2, no, they won't work with that. When they look at the university, a smaller university, when we say small, we're talking about in terms of wealth and name. All right. So some people allow you to slip by with that. The difficult question now of low impact and more papers versus, because students actually play a numbers game, you know. Students actually play a numbers game. I'll tell you a quick story so that other people can get to ask their question. When I was at Weitzman, right, I just arrived there, did 1 year, and then there was another gentleman coming in to work. I had to train him. I had 11 papers, so I felt good and all, and said, yeah, 11 papers, very good. This guy, he did not even, at the time he was waiting to do his Viva, defend his, he's a physicist. He had 27 papers, all right? He didn't, I had the PhD already, I did my defense and everything. He came and started the postdoc, but he had to go back to his country to do the defense for the thesis. So he didn't even officially have the PhD, but he had 27 papers. The assessors at Weitzman, when they assess his stuff, they only considered 5 of the papers. And they said, these are not your papers. You know why? Because they were saying that these are just papers that you were placed on. You are not the first author, you're not the corresponding author. These are not your papers. All right? So they kind of kicked away some of them. In terms of the 4, in my opinion, on the 4 smaller impact versus the 4 bigger impact, I'll probably go for the 4 versus the 2. I'll probably go for the 4 versus the 2. And that would probably help me to get more citations, get my name around more. So probably I'll end up going for the 4 versus the 2. I get a greater spread, right, than the 2. And as a graduate student, I think you play, in my opinion, more of a numbers game. Yeah, because also you have to remember, impact factor does not speak to quality of the work in the paper. It does not speak to that. And if you look at, you know, if you don't believe, look at how it is calculated. It says nothing about it. It has nothing to do with that. So probably as as a graduate student, I would probably advise graduating, go for the 4. If your supervisor is with it, go for the 4. Yeah.
And if I may just add something, please, I just want to remind you, Web of Science database can assist you with impact factor for journals. So remember to check out Web of Science.
Web of Science, okay.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. I have a follow-up question, but first I have two burning questions from Troy Franklin. Go ahead.
Right. My question is actually two parts.
Okay.
The first part's relatively simple, I guess. How exactly do you refer to yourself in a paper if it hasn't actually been published yet? Like, what are you going to be writing?
I have seen what do you mean? If you have some data and you want to reference the data, the data hasn't been published yet, but you want to refer it?
Yes.
I have seen more than once, more than twice, where authors have made reference to manuscripts in the press, or have also made reference to manuscripts which are under preparation. I have seen it more than 5 times. I don't know. I'm not sure if all journals allow this, but I've seen that where references, when the author has a reference, and when you check out the reference, the author says that this data is included in a manuscript which is now in the press, or this data is under discussion and has not been published yet. I have seen that. I don't know if all journals allow it, but I've seen it more than 5 times in published papers. So.
Okay.
All right, to add to that, the referencing style guides, remember I spoke to referencing style guides briefly. Referencing style guides will tell you how to cite everything, how to cite data sets, how to cite patents, how to cite unpublished papers, technical papers, everything. So just check your referencing style guide that you are supposed to use in your specific department, and you will see exactly how to cite an unpublished paper. And if it's an unpublished technical report, it may appear differently for, let's say, a journal article. So check your style guide.
Okay. Thanks.
Great. Okay, Troy, do you have another question, or is that it?
Well, my other question was just really more of a clarification question. When you say that we could write reviews before we actually publish, what exactly do you mean when you say review? As in you're reviewing a paper that's already published, but review it in what way?
Okay. A review article basically is almost like
Dr. Nelson.
Yes.
Sorry, I can share an example. I have one of your papers up right now. We review papers.
Oh, sure, no problem.
So this is one of his review papers, Troy.
Yeah.
He did a review with another grad student for preparation and properties of some ion selective membranes. All right, go ahead, Dr. Nelson.
Yes, so Troy, how it works is this. It's almost a review paper, it's almost like a summary of it's not necessarily work published by you, but it's basically a summary of what is there in the literature on a certain area. And in some reviews, you'll see that the authors point out discrepancies in the literature in that area. They even sometimes point out things that have not been done, right? And some people even go as far as pointing out how to get these things done, or make some sort of suggestions as to how to get these things done and stuff like that, and why it is that it is important to do these kinds of studies. So it's like a summary of the literature in an area. And that is why if you're a new person coming into an area, you could actually just pick up one of these review articles and read and say, this person did this and did that and did that. And you could use this review article to find the original papers that were reviewed. Now, when I say that you could publish a review article before publishing, I am saying that you don't have to be an expert in a certain area to actually publish a review article in that area. You could be somebody just coming into the area. You're trying to learn about the area, right? And you have done a lot of reading of the literature, and you say, look, when I check things out in this area, I have not seen a single paper which contains all of the information that is packed in this area. So tell you what, I'm going to basically summarize all the information and put it into one body.
Okay.
And publish that. So you can actually do that. Of course, like I said, some authors might say, boy, this is not good because you're not even expert in the area, but you're publishing a review article in the area. Or some persons might even say that you're using the review articles as some sort of padding for your CV instead of really publishing real experimental work. Of course, this is a philosophical difference. And I mean, you can't be mad at somebody for having a different philosophy from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Troy. Okay, so thank you. All right, so we have a question, Dr. Nelson, from Kimberly Foster.
Okay.
It says, how do you approach writing with your thesis if all your results are already published in a peer-reviewed journal?
Well, like we were saying earlier, if all your results are already in a peer-reviewed journal, you will, wherever you take, whichever way you want to take it, you'll have to write back what is in those articles in your thesis. Because I don't know if UWI offering, allowing, and Dr. Harris can correct me on this if I'm wrong, I don't know if UWI allowing PhD or MPhil via publication, which I think they should, because, you know, yeah, you should be able to write a few papers and, you know, be able to come in, whether you're a registered student or not, pay up the registration fees and follow the necessary protocols, get a member in here to inside the university to review these papers to see if they are good. And the university grants your PhD or your MPhil. Or even research students inside here should be able to take the papers and present those. And that's that. But I don't know if you are offering that. But to answer the question directly, if all your data is already published in peer review articles, you will still have to put them in your thesis and cite these articles. That's how you will have to approach it. Because you can't say that because these the data is published, oh, well, I don't have any thesis. Unless you is going to allow you to get your PhD or your MPhil via publication, which I personally believe that such an option should be available.
All right, Dr. Nelson.
Yes.
We, at the University of the West Indies, we have what is called a manuscript-based submission of thesis.
Okay.
It was recently cancelled. What is the manuscript-based publication style of thesis? That involves including several published papers, putting several published papers together to make up your thesis. And so the guidelines for submitting that are different from the regular thesis submission. But only this year, I believe it was in February, it was suspended. You would need to check with the Office of Graduate Studies to find out, let's say to look at the time you were registered into the program to see if you would still be allowed or if it's just cancelled periodically. So I would suggest that the person who asked the question could check with the Office of Graduate Studies, because I know that sometimes depending on when you come in, certain things may not apply to you and certain things may apply to you. But this year, the manuscript-based publication style of thesis was suspended, and in that style, you were able to present your papers in the published form.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Harris, do you know if the university allows if the university grants PhD via publication or MPhil via publication, meaning that, let's say there's a person with a bachelor's degree, and this person is probably working at the Ministry of Agriculture or so, and this person was probably working under the supervision of a scientist there and was able to publish maybe 10 good papers, could that person approach the university or approach graduate studies? And I don't know, maybe this question should be directed at graduate studies and say, look,
Yes,
I
it should
have
be
10 papers.
directed to graduate studies.
Okay.
But the
Okay.
closest to that would be the manuscript-based submission, which was suspended this year.
Okay.
That would definitely be a question for OGSR.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Kimberly, you're still here. Did he answer your question sufficiently for you? You'd like to unmute yourself and speak?
I'm not sure if that was for me. I wanted to ask, I wanted to say one more thing. I heard a lot mentioned by Dr. Nelson, and he spoke in relation to the supervisor and choosing a supervisor who will publish and so on. Unfortunately, some grad students don't have that luxury, and they end up with supervisors who are not into publishing or even into directing their grad students to publish. And you might find that, unlike you, which applaudable, it's highly applaudable that graduate with 11 publications. There are some of us who graduated with less or none. So I'm wondering if it's a good thing to also encourage collaboration, because I'm seeing a lot of articles among lecturers, and when you look on some of them, there are 10, 12, sometimes even more authors on that one article. And I'm wondering if it's a good thing to recommend that form of collaboration among grad students. Yes, with the blessing of their supervisor, but I'm not sure if that is something that you see as something that we can also recommend.
Well, I guess that comes back down now also to the philosophy of the supervisor where that is concerned. But of course, graduate students leaving without publications is not a good thing, because that can hinder the growth of the individual. So that is an issue, and I think something should be put in place for that. I don't know if requiring that a PhD candidate at least publish 2 or 3 papers before being able to take the Viva is the best way. I don't know if that is the best way. All right, but something needs to be done about that. Of course, like you mentioned, and I also mentioned that some supervisors are not so much into publishing, right? And so they don't put so much effort into getting that. The idea of collaboration between graduate students, well, that's an interesting one. That's one that I've never really thought of in terms of putting them together on a paper. But I would also ask a question: would that be within a certain research group, or would it be intra-group or inter-group? That's it.
And it can also be interdisciplinary, because that is where we're going, a lot of interdisciplinary research. And I find the more I read, there are some research, for example, the sciences that are physical, and there might be just a grad student. There's a grad student group that meet a lot, so they will be able to know what they are doing. But there are others who probably might look at the human element of a similar sort of research. So it can also be that level of collaboration where you have one person look at the physical side. The thing is, we don't know what is out there in terms of what they are studying. But there's a grad studies group, yes. And I think that is really for the grad study president. And I know you keep mentioning we don't know what the philosophy of the supervisor is. And I'm here questioning, should the supervisor has such a hold over whether or not you publish, because if they don't believe you should publish in a high impact, or they will not give you a blessing. Is it a case where you're saying that the grad student cannot publish? And Marcia is not here, but it would be nice to hear, to hear that kind of what is allowed for grad students in relation to publishing Because I personally don't think it should be really, if the supervisor don't give you the blessing, you shouldn't be able to, or you can get left back because of that. So I'm here learning as much as you are presenting, and Dr. Harris is here, and I'm quite certain the grad students also have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a technical thing.
Okay. Miss Rose Smith, could you leave that comment? I sent a review link. If you could leave that comment in there, I could follow up with Prof. Roy, and maybe get a feedback for you. Or if you want, you can email her directly. Okay.
It is more for you, it is more for the grad students. I'm a lecturer. I'm a lecturer. So I really
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Right. So I would not be emailing. It's more for, I'm asking questions based on my experience as a grad student. And in a way, I know a lot of our geographers, not only myself, we never get, I don't want to say the support, but in some cases, some of us, leave publishing as much as I heard coming out here. And I think it's a good thing. I think this is a brilliant meeting. And so I wanted to just show up some of these things in this meeting and really ask questions, so that at the end, whosoever is listening or recording, or that the relevant persons will hear.
Definitely. I had a question based on that, but I have to go to Kimberly Foster, who has a burning question. Yes, Kimberly, I recognize your hand. Unmute yourself.
Okay, so thanks, Dr. Nelson and Dr. Harris, for answering my first question. My second question is, the publications of which Dr. Nelson speak, are those primarily first authored publications that we should have? Or we can just be authors on a paper, probably helping out to do some of the experiments, maybe?
Okay. About the publications, what I have found is that persons are more interested in the first authorship of the, interested in you being the first author. Like I mentioned with my friend there at Weizmann, he came in with 27 papers, you see? But of the 27, he was only first author for 7 of them. And so Weizmann basically disregarded the other 20 because there were a few guys well on the paper, and they just basically disregarded the rest of it. Now, of course, nowadays, journals are publishing the papers, and at the back of the paper, you see they have something like something called, I think, author contribution or something like that. Yes, they tend to have something like that at the back, where you basically state the contribution of each of the authors. So if you have 10 authors on the paper, you basically have to tell what this author did, what that one did. So, yeah. I personally believe that if I'm publishing with my grad students, then the grad students will be first. Or with a grad student, the grad student will be first, the one who is principally responsible for the work. So I generally put my grad students first, and I'm the corresponding author. So yeah, that's how I do it.
Additionally, Dr. Nelson, there are some rules relating to joint publication between lecturers and graduate students. So perhaps you can check that out. The person who asked the question.
I will check it out too.
I'm not sure if it varies by department, but in the Department of Library and Information Studies, we had those guidelines there in respect of whose name should go first and that sort of a thing. So you can.
Where can we find that information, Dr. Harris?
I would have to say you'd have to check with your department. Whichever department that you're in, they should be able to give you those guidelines.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So for example, in the Department of Library and Information Studies, the student's name should come first. But I can only speak to that department. I don't know what other departments do. So you would need to check with your department to see what the guidelines are. Because we had a situation many years ago where a lecturer got into trouble for taking students' papers and publishing them as his own. So that started back then to guard against that sort of thing from happening. Of course, the lecturer was dismissed. So check with your department on that.
Okay, thank you. I hope Kimberly, your question was answered.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Dr.
And I
Nelson,
trust that you would have seen the manuscript based
Yes, I saw that
submission.
just
I
now.
had it up and I sent the link.
Yes.
The link
Yes,
is to the
thank
entire
you.
thesis guide. But as I said before, it was suspended. I don't know if they're going to bring it back on the books. It was suspended only this year, just before COVID.
Okay, great.
Okay, Dr. Nelson, all right. Before I say anything, are there any other burning questions? Because we do have to wrap up because of time. It's almost 6 o'clock. We're way over time. Any other questions? Any burning questions that you have to get answered right now? No. All right. Dr. Nelson, just have a quick question, very quick question. If you could respond to it in a short way,
Yes.
Students have said to me, speaking up on what the previous lecturer said, that there are in certain groups where the supervisor does not want him to publish unless it's in a high impact journal. If we are to play a numbers game, how would you advise that student around something like that, with that numbers game? If that
Well,
supervisor that you're attached to wants you in high impact journals, but you have certain groups all over the faculty that the lecturers want them in high impact journals.
well, first of all, my comment on that, before I answer the question, is that that is destructive to the student. That's just how I see it. It's destructive to the student. Yes, the supervisor will benefit because they'll say, oh, I have only high impact factor papers, but what about the student? What about when your student graduate, leave the group and can't get a postdoc, can't get a job? So to me, that is destructive to the student. And I personally believe that it should not be left totally up to the philosophy of the supervisor, but the Office of Graduate Studies and Research can come in, need to step in here and say, look, for a student to upgrade it, the student need to publish this. Or for a student to get the PhD, the student need to do that, right? So the student would, they should put some sort of publication requirement for the student to upgrade, for the student to also graduate, such that supervisors can stop putting out all these students without having published the work. PhD, should mean novel. The work that you have done, is novel work for your PhD. If it's something that someone has done before, then how can we give you a PhD for that? But guess what? We need you to prove that it is novel. Get it out there in a scientific journal, peer-reviewed scientific journal. All right? We're not going to kill you for the impact, but we need it to be a peer-reviewed journal. We want to see that the scientific community is accepting to this, and also because the university has to also think about the longevity of its students, not just to produce them and then kick them out and then, oh, whatever happens to you after happens. No, it can't be like that. I don't believe in that sort of thing. We want when you're finished and you leave here, we want to hear that you are at Columbia University doing a postdoc, or you're at MIT, or you're at Cambridge, and we can say, oh, look, this is one of our people, we produce these great people. So I believe that if the Office of Graduate Studies is well thinking, then they have to come in and remedy that. What should the student do in answering your question? The option that you have, which is a lame duck option, if you ask me, is to basically abandon ship, leave that supervisor. But abandoning ship after 4 or 5 years or 3 or 4 years with this supervisor is not a nice thing, because you would have spent so much of your time, so much of your life on this work. Abandon ship now and then to go and start over. It's a tough thing. But I think so. That's the lame duck option that you have. The other option, or what I would recommend, is that you have to speak to the supervisor. All right, respectfully. I'm not saying to go and disrespect anybody or nothing like that, but respectfully, you have to express yourself and say, look, I need some papers. I need something. I've been doing all of this work. I understand that you are more interested in these high impact journals, but what about me, the student? I'm about to leave, I'm about to graduate. What will I do after leaving? I'm doing all of this work, and for what? What's going on? So that's I just call being frank, not disrespectful or anything like that. But you have to express yourself. You have to speak up and say, what is going on? I need something. Let's see if we can put something together. I know you love the high impact. I would love to have some high impact papers too. But guess what? I need something now. Let's work something out. When I was at Weizmann, the professor that I was working with, real top professor, right? Several patents, over 40 had patents. Okay? And is the founder of the area, molecular self-assembly. Well known. But this guy only publishes in big journals. When I went there, he got one paper that came out in Nature Materials. I think Nature Materials has impact factor of about 38 or 40 by now. At the time, it was 38. I think it's probably reached about 40 by now, Nature Materials. And most of his papers are in ACS Nano, Journal of Advanced Materials, impact factor 17 and so. But I was there working, and after 1 year and odd, I'm not seeing any movements. So I had to call a meeting. I had to call a meeting with him and the staff scientist to ask what is going on. I'm here for papers really, and I have worked hard. So that's one thing I do. I make sure I work hard. A lot of work, good quality work too. So when I ask about papers, you can't tell me that, oh, but the work is not good. Oh, but you're not doing much work. You're not producing much data. You can't say that. Impossible. The amount of work that I have done and the quality of the work, right? So you just have to say, all right, look, I'll try to start working on something now, and let us start putting something together. So I had to speak up, because if not, he would have been comfortable and he would just be there trying to get enough data to get another Nature Materials paper. The Nature Materials paper that he got, the supporting information was 70 odd pages. Just the supporting information. That is not the paper, That's just the supporting information, some 70 odd pages. Right? That's the amount of data that the guy needed. And then also for the body of the paper. And then because I had the meeting and the frank discussion with him, right? We started to put together a paper, and we managed to get the paper out a few days before I came back to Jamaica. And this was a paper in a journal called Angifade Chemie, a German journal. It has an impact factor of about 14 something. So you have to speak up, that's what I'm saying, but you also have to work. You have to make sure that you put in the work, so that when you call this meeting, supervisor can say, oh, but you're not doing any work. Oh, but you don't have enough data. You don't have high quality data. Can be. And you have to just, be respectful, but speak up and say, look, I need something. I need something. I've been working. This is destructive to me. Who will this help? It will not help me. So that's what it is. And I'll say that to anybody. You have to put the student there. You have to make sure that you help your student. That's how I see it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nelson, and we appreciate the response and take it into consideration moving forward. All right, guys, we're coming at the end. We have our vote of thanks, which is being done by Nikolai. Take it over, Nikolai.
Nikolai, your mic, you need to unmute your microphone.
You're still muted, Nikolai. All right, Nikolai is having some technical difficulties. But in the meantime, I have put the link again for our review form. Please please give us your honest opinion about the session. Give us ways of how we can improve it. We're always looking forward to serve you even better in the next virtual session that we may do in the future. Just let us know if you want to see anything new topic being done, or you want another extension of this, let us know. All right, we're here to serve you. All right. Nikolai, you there now? Nikolai, try turning off your video. All right, it looks as if I may have to do it on Nikolai's behalf. Nikolai, are you there? Unmute yourself. Give him a minute to unmute and then we wrap up. Okay, he's on mute. Nikolai, go. Not hearing anything, Nikolai.
Yeah, might have to ask it on his behalf.
All right. Give him one more chance, and if anything, I'll do it. Nikolai? All right, it seems that he's having technical difficulties. I'll do the vote of thanks. So on behalf of the graduate students of Faculty of Science and Technology, we would like to just say thank you to Dr. Harris and Dr. Nelson for coming out and speaking on these topics that would help facilitate. Oh, Nikolai, you can talk? Okay, still having the technical difficulties. I'll continue. Just thank you for coming out and giving us ideas and pointers on how we can make research better. Writing research papers, how we cite, how we use the different search engines. It is well appreciated and well noted by us graduate students. Moving forward, we hope we can implement this into making better quality papers and publishing more data, help better facilitate our growth and development and transitioning into the world of work and further beyond. Again, thank you for your time. We are well over time and you guys were very patient and you actually facilitated us in this event, which is truly appreciated by us, the graduate students. I cannot express how much we appreciate this effort on your part. I would like to say thank you in the warmest regards.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you. And have a wonderful evening. All the best for the semester and stay safe.
All right.
And the same to you. And guys, remember that the review form is in the chat. I'll post it again. Please drop your comments. We need to know how we can make this better for you, the students. All right. And a link to this session will be posted on the faculty website so you can download and watch at your leisure. All right. And you have any other questions, you can email them to Dr. Harris or Dr. Nelson. They will, of course, answer if you have any other additional questions. So thank you all for coming out and enjoy the rest of your day.